The agenda for today will be covering the following topics: changes to Microsoft Dynamics NAV look and feel, more options for your inventory items, account categories in the chart of accounts, smart notifications, upgraded OCR features that have been introduced in this version of NAV, and a simplified setup for CRM inside of NAV. At the very end, we'll have our Q&A. At this time, I want to hand it over to Paul Sanderson, who will be talking to you about the wonderful new features in NAV 2017.
Thank you, Floyd. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on Dynamics NAV 2017. Just like to give you a quick run through, a quick overview of the new features in 2017, and then we'll dive down into NAV and have a proper look. Firstly, the look and feel of NAV has been changed, and we're going to have a look at some of the most commonly used pages, customer cards, item cards, sales orders, sales invoices, to see of the effect of these changes. Been a few major changes to items. Templates have been added, attributes have been added, which we've been all waiting for a long time, and the item category functionality has been upgraded. Account categories have been added also, and that's changed in a big way how we can see the chart of accounts listing in Dynamics NAV. I'm going to have a look at some of the smart notifications that we can now get that enhance the sort of notifications that we get when doing transactions in NAV. I want to just have a look at some of the latest changes to OCR, and there's some big changes there that will definitely enhance the way that OCR is used within NAV. And lastly, we just want to look at the complete integration between Dynamics CRM and Dynamics NAV, which has been fully completed in NAV 2017. So, without any ado, let's go and have a look at NAV. Let's have a look at a sales order, and we can see the changes that have been done in terms of the look and feel of NAV. In terms of the main screen here, not much has changed. In terms of the ribbon, we've had some ribbon items out so that it's not quite so crowded. The major changes are on the right-hand side here. Customer sales history just looks a bit different but stays the same. Customer details, been tidied up but looks the same. And here are the major changes: sales line details and item details. And you can see as I change and access different detail lines on the sales order, the information on the right-hand side changes. What this is doing is this fact box is looking directly at the item card. So for the sales line details, we're looking at the item availability, all fields on the item card, and we're looking at costing and pricing information also from the item card. So what this allows us to do is to be able to see the details of the line item without having to navigate away from the sales order to the item card. Let's go and have a look at an item card. Okay, Microsoft have increased the number of tabs and reduced the amount of information that you see on the tab by distributing the extra information across the tabs. A lot more effective and a lot more efficient. You can see on the right-hand side there's the addition of some photos and other information there. These changes are worked right the way throughout NAV. So sales orders, sales invoices, all the major cards, in fact, all the major user interface pages have been updated to this standard. Okay, let's now move on to inventory and look at three of the major changes to inventory. First one is if I go to New and select a new item, I immediately come up with a templates page. In here are 4 predetermined item templates that we can use, and you can develop your own ones on this. But this will simplify the way in which the items are raised, and I guess mean greater accuracy for those involved in raising new items. I think the sort of things that you would include in a template would be, say, a different number series for retail items as opposed to, say, manufacturing items. You would also include different defaults that you may set for different types of items. And maybe you would specify in the pricing and margins tab different margin information in retail to what you might do to office furniture or in fact manufacturing, which would have none of that. So again, a nice little inclusion. Something that we've been asking for a long time and has been a long time coming is item attributes. And this has been added for items. What we see here is the global setup, if you like, of attributes within Dynamics NAV. So what is an attribute? Okay, I think that we colloquially know it as item style color or color style size. Those are the three basic variations that we use in a retail sense or when dealing with retail products, clothes, etc. But here we can set up and define each attribute that we want to follow, and we can specify the attribute, what the particular attributes are. So for colour, for example, we can specify what the colours are. We also have other ways to set attributes that we can set up in different ways. But at the end of the day, we're setting up global attributes here. So what does this mean? It means that we can allocate attributes to an item, and I'll just go and select an item here and show you we have a new button here called attributes, and if I go into here we can see that these attributes have been allocated to this stock item: color, blue, depth, height, material description and width. Now the issue comes, of course, is how you're going to get this information if you're going to use this into NAV. And obviously you would do this outside of NAV, maybe using information from the supplier, put it into an Excel spreadsheet and probably upload it into the item master. Okay, so what does this mean now that we have these attributes linked to items? There's the addition of an attribute section here, and we can go and filter our items by attributes. So if I want to go in and I want to select items, all the items in inventory that are blue, I can do that, and here they are. How do I know they're blue? Because I can check in the attribute fact box that's here. This one's blue, this one's blue. You can also see that in terms of height, this one's 140 centimetres, this one's 125 centimetres. And I can go to my filter and say I want to add another attribute, and I'm going to use height here, height of 140, and I'll check that one has disappeared. So I'm left with the one item that fits both of the attribute criteria that I've set. Quite an interesting addition to NAV in 2017. We have a look at an item card again. We'll see there's a field here that we've been using for a long time. This is the item category code, but the functionality behind this field has been changed. The item category code is now been turned into a hierarchical structure that allows us to nest inventory items within one another, rather than really what was a linear relationship with the old item category. And if I go to the item category setup in here, I can see my inventory set up under the item categories. Top of the list is furniture. Under that I've got nested chairs. Under that I've got nested dining chairs, outdoor chairs, and I could keep on going further and nest and set up other categories within this. What I can further do here is see, if I go and edit this, that I've been able to add attributes to a category of items. So again, this just adds further strength and a further enhancement to this. Not only do I now have a nested, is my inventory nested, I can select a certain group of items within there, and I can apply attributes to those to sort and to filter out and filter for exactly the sort of attributes that I'm looking for my customer. Okay, now for something entirely different. Let's go to have a look at the finance area. This is the general ledger chart of accounts that we all know and love so well. We've all been working with for so long. We all know how restrictive it is, and how that it's restricted by the fact that it's truly hierarchical. It works off the account number series down on the left here, and we know that it includes non-account accounts, if I can put it that way. The account types called beginning totals and end totals. And all this is about putting some structure to our hierarchical chart that we've determined in numerical order. Every time we want to change the look of the chart, every time we want to add a new account into it or restructure it, we have to do it within the existing numerical sequence here. And that is really very, very restrictive. If I just go into an item card here, you'll see that there's been 2 extra fields added to the account table: account category and account subcategory. And you can see they've been predetermined what the categories are and what the subcategories are. So all it needs then for me to allocate categories and subcategories, and I can see my whole chart of account is now redefined. Here it is: assets, liabilities, equity, all done in the way that I wanted, including the accounts that I want to include. No longer am I restricted by the inclusion of accounts that are sequentially numbered, and in this GL accounts grouping here, I can include unrelated and non-sequential accounts. Just to have a look here, if I just have a look down there, we'll have a look at other income and expenditure. By having a look at on the right-hand side here, again, we saw this as part of the enhancements. It tells me the GL accounts that are included into this subcategory here: sequential, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 9420. So a very powerful tool that allows us to redefine our chart of accounts and to see it in a manner that we want to see it in, rather than that is imposed on us by the structure of the old chart. Okay, let's move on again and have a look at some changes to some smart notifications. You know that when we are entering sales orders or purchase orders, NAV does pop up little reminder boxes that let us know that certain events have occurred or are about to occur. And this functionality has been enhanced. I just want to show you an example here. I have a customer. See, that's in red, and it's in red for a particular reason. This customer has gone over his credit limit, and the transactions that make up that credit limit are in fact over their trading terms. So if I want to go and raise a sales order for this customer, I immediately get a banner and a sound here just below the ribbon that tells me that this customer has an overdue balance and the customer's credit limit has been exceeded. I can drill down on this, major bonus. I can drill down on this, and I can drill down on this, all from within the one notification. The other smart thing about this is that this is definable by user. So if I have a look here at my notifications, I can go into the locations for this logon and I can turn them on or off. I can look at the conditions that create the message, and indeed if I want to, I can change them. Okay, so a nice little enhancement to NAV notifications. I just want to talk now about the electronic processing of documents in NAV. Processing of electronic documents was added into Dynamics NAV in 2013, and a major step forward in NAV 2016 when the inclusion of OCR, optical character recognition, was added. Microsoft had a partnership with Lexmark, who provide the software to convert the document that you send, be it a scan or be it a photo of an invoice, convert that into machine readable or machine understandable language that when it comes back to the organization can be uploaded directly into, say, a purchase invoice. A few changes have taken place which really take this to a whole new level. NAV 2016, there was a major restriction on processing documents in that we could only process one detailed line at a time. Obviously this was a major restriction. It might have been all right for utility invoices, but for any stock transactions where there were multiple lines, we weren't able to process these using OCR. Major change 2017, we can now do that, and I can just show you a scanned document here, which we now have a range of different, we have 3 different lines here which can be converted by the Lexmark process and uploaded into a NAV purchase invoice. The other change, obviously if you're using optical character recognition, you probably would have 200 to 300 open documents on the screen, and this screen is really the management screen that manages the transfer of documents from NAV to Lexmark and from Lexmark back to NAV, and also the release of these documents for processing and uploading into the NAV transaction tables. If you've got a couple of hundred transactions here, you want to be able to filter them to only see certain transactions, and that's what this now does. So you can limit what you see on the screen so that you don't have to scroll through 200 items. The last major change for optical character recognition is the fact that the Lexmark software to a point can be trained to recognize documents from a certain vendor. When a document is sent to Lexmark, the software often has difficulty reading the photo or the scan. And that's not a problem with the software, this is just inherent in OCR. We're not talking about EDI here, we're talking about OCR. And there is an error rate in reading documents with OCR. What it does is that the system flags the user can log into the system and help it to identify which fields on the document should be accepted. Now, if you consider, for example, a Telstra invoice, and you have a look at the paper document, it is covered with information from top to bottom. Once you scan it and send it to Lexmark, it's going to have difficulty identifying the 2 or 3 pieces of information that it needs to be able to turn into the machine readable language to send back to NAV. It identifies you have an error, it allows you to log in, help it to identify which fields, and then saves that information under vendor Telstra. So next time it receives a transaction with vendor Telstra, opens the document up and knows exactly where to go on that document to select, say, an account number, a date, and or an amount. OCR is not an exact art, as I said, and it's not for everyone. If you're looking for absolute certainty in your electronic processing, then EDI is the answer. But if you don't have the transaction volumes for EDI, then OCR is a very good substitute. I'm dealing with one of our sites at the moment that operates 12, this is an organisation in Sydney here that operates 12 remote sites in and around Sydney. They have, with their data entry of purchase invoices, a 70% error rate. So now they take a photo of the invoice, attach the invoice to an email it to the head office, where it is processed by Lexmark and uploaded into Dynamics NAV purchase invoices. Now, it would not be right to say that these are processed 100% accuracy, and there is an inaccurate portion of this, but it is nothing like 70%. So, if OCR is for you, here are some great enhancements to take you forward. And if you are not using it and considering using it, we would be more than happy to help you through this process. And lastly, on to something entirely different. This is the integration of Dynamics CRM and Dynamics NAV. Microsoft has a number of business applications which it is currently working through to integrate these with business applications such as NAV. And I'm talking here about Office 365, SharePoint, and Dynamics CRM. The integration with Dynamics CRM was first introduced in 2016, and from my understanding of what I've seen in 2017, the integration is complete. So effectively what you have here in 17 is the ability to integrate Dynamics CRM directly with Microsoft NAV 2017. I'm just going to go to Dynamics CRM, and this is what I'm going to see here. If I have Dynamics CRM, it allows me to see accounts, contacts, quotes, orders, invoices, and products, all within CRM. What I'm now able to do is to go back into Dynamics NAV, and this is a Dynamics NAV menu item, and I'm going to say for the CRM sales orders, which I saw here, I want to link those into Dynamics NAV sales orders. I want to link my NAV accounts to CRM accounts. I want to link my Dynamics NAV my Dynamics NAV contacts with CRM contacts, opportunities, items to products. So effectively what I'm doing is saying behind these buttons I want to see NAV 2017. So that if I'm using CRM and I'm out of the field, if I click this button, I see my NAV accounts. I can see my quotes, my orders, I can raise my quotes, raise orders, raise invoices, view invoices, see products, all from the Dynamics CRM directly into NAV. And that is very powerful. So what does this mean then for an organisation? Well, firstly, NAV 2017 provides you with an out-of-the-box integration with Dynamics CRM. No expensive customization, no middleware, no technical involvement. I've done this, and believe me, if I can do this, anybody with a non-technical background can do it. So straight out of the box, you have the ability to integrate these without any further cost. Just further on Dynamics CRM, it is available via the cloud, or as what Microsoft calls it, Azure. And that fact does not stop you linking an application out of the cloud with your Dynamics NAV implementation that's sitting on a server just probably in the office next to you. And this is a very powerful and very opportune moving forward.